And we are live. Tasty Brains Podcast, episode 2. D-Bloc, welcome to the show. First time guest. I'm really happy to have you on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, for sure, man. I've known you for, most of my Twitter life, I guess. I kind of ran into you through the sneaker / clothing / just kind of urban thing, and paid attention to your page. And as soon as I started the podcast, I'm like, well, I got to have this dude on. And
very flattered.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things where you kind of, I grew up wearing, streetwear, I guess you want to call it streetwear. Mm-hmm. Mostly sneakers though was kind of my thing. I never felt comfortable dipping my toe into that like Supreme world of things. And I think more often than not, I mean, obviously now more people jumped into Supreme and they were just like, oh, it's the hype thing to do. And I need to have 50 skateboard decks and lighters and matches and a bunch of weird shit instead of just the clothes. And then I don't think it's really, I don't know, where do you think a company like that is right now? And I'm asking you because, I mean, obviously everyone listening to the podcast, D-Bloc's not, just some guy that he doesn't own some like massive shop or some, like Target sized warehouse just full of clothes,
That'd be nice.
Yeah, but I'm sure, we'll get into later the aspirations and whatnot that you have for your brand and kind of your upbringing. But right now, as I guess we'll kick it off, just going, biting the snake off the head here. What do you think about where things have gone? You started how long ago on Twitter?
Oh man, I mean, I made a Twitter in 2011 when I was a young kid in college, but I never really utilized it. I never really knew how to utilize it. So it was very interesting when I started on there with probably like 20 followers, just of personal network people that I knew from school. And I just kept trying at it and networked a bunch. And I just kept, as a young kid living at home, right after school and trying to find a real, job and move out of my parents' home, it was easy for me to kind of facilitate all the things that I was able to source, I guess, at the time. So that for me was how I really got into it. And then the more I posted, the more people started paying attention. I think variety at that time was huge. Retro Jordans were kind of in the toilet at that time, which is really kind of hard to fathom based on where we are today.
Crazy. Yeah, I can't wait to get into the sneaker part of this.
Absolutely. You see things that were on sale for $89.99, 5 years ago, and they're $450, $500 pairs now. So I think it's definitely an interesting time in the game. And I think also just it's transformed so much over the years that it's hard to really gauge as to where we are now, but it's just on such a mass scale, right? I mean, production numbers are as high as they've ever been.
Do you miss where it was? Do you miss that, I mean, I'm guessing you were into Supreme from the very early get-goes.
Well, I won't even really claim that, because as a guy that was originally born in Queens, one of the 5 boroughs, for those who don't really familiarize with New York City all that much. And
if you don't familiarize with New York City, you guys need to get your shit together and familiarize. It's a great city.
Best city in the world. Sorry, guys.
Summers and garbage though, not the best, but
very sad from the months of May to September.
All right.
But yeah, so I got moved out to the suburbs until really school, university and whatever. So that was definitely something that took me out of being able to like really access Supreme as much. A lot of my friends were not into it, and the kids I went to school with, a pretty affluent school, they were able to get it. But of course, it's kind of those same people that go to Flight Club now or Stadium Goods, which, again, nothing wrong with what you do, but
sure,
obviously there are better routes to navigate in terms of spending the right amount and finding the right source in order to make it suitable for both.
Yeah, because those stores, man, I mean, you're talking about these days, it's like quad markup, even from where you're, getting them on Stock X or Goat. I mean, I remember going into Flight Club with my wife, like a kid in a candy store, and looking at the collection. You're like,
how could you not? Yeah, it's just something
fucking nuts. Yeah, and you flip over a shoe though that you think, all right, maybe $400, and you see like $1,000 price tag, and you're just like, yeah, all right, I'm putting those back.
You also have to understand that these, Flight Club, Stadium Goods, excuse me, are, they also are taking 20% commission. So the markup does actually correlate and make sense. Yes, it might not be fair or like whatever you want to say, right? Like you'll see all the complaints and whatever,
sure.
but that's fine. Like you don't have to go there to buy something. And if you do, it's going to have to be something that's extremely rare. And that's where networking comes in. And I think a lot of people need to understand that too, that are just starting out. I get a lot of questions. How did you do this? How did you do that? I'm like, well, I still am doing it. It's not like a past tense thing.
Right.
But networking is how you get to be successful. I think there's a common misconception now with the younger kids getting into the game about just expecting things to sell. But there's also a lot of younger kids from the younger generation. I use the word kids because I still feel like a kid at 30 years old, but they're doing it right. And that's also really good to see. But networking is a huge part of it. And if that's the advice that I'm going to answer for the 10 inquiries a day about what to do in order to become successful in this space, I would just say keep talking to people.
Yeah, because it's a highly watered down space. I would say now, a lot like the space that I'm predominantly in, which is sports cards.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody and their mother's got sports cards now, and it's like everybody and their mother's got sneakers. Everybody and their mother's got streetwear, or I mean, I'm in some groups where they're flipping Magic Mixies and shit, and I'm like, okay, I mean, that's the route.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
That's yeah, I know it sounds like some like weird street drug thing, but it's some Magic Mixie. It's like a toy. But I mean, last year during Christmas, shit was selling out, and people were just. I remember they were buying, whatever how much they cost, and they were flipping them for 2x, and I was blown away. But I digress. Back into the streetwear world.
I wanted to actually continue on that, but also back to what you were saying in terms of where it was. I definitely went into Supreme with my parents. We used to take trips to the city all the time. My parents were city kids.
Okay.
They moved us out to, give us a better schooling opportunity. Just parents being, looking out. So as unfortunate as
I can relate.
Absolutely. And going into the city, I would always drag them there because I loved skateboarding culture. I was a terrible skater.
Okay.
I stuck to the concrete sports and the grass sports, but
nice.
Actually, I guess skateboarding is a concrete sport.
I was gonna say it's a concrete sport, kind of.
Yeah, I can't be perfect, guys. I'm sorry.
It's all good.
But yeah, I walked in there and there was box logos. There were box logos for $30. My mom's like, I'm not spending $30 on a t-shirt. Are you crazy?
Right.
And
Here we are.
Need to say more, you know what I mean? So but I understood it. I didn't want her to spend at that time 30 for a t-shirt was a lot of money.
It's almost crazy to say that now.
I know.
If you just think about where we've gone in pricing of things, it's almost unimaginable.
Yeah, especially the whole last 6 months, but even still, absolutely, it's really wild to think. And then back on what you were saying about the brand of, let's keep talking about Supreme. People have to understand that was a skate shop. That wasn't a clothing store, but they gained so much notoriety due to celebrities wearing their stuff, and also just because they were, a local spot, and there aren't too many skate shops. A few of them actually closed down during the pandemic. It was really sad. but
Yeah,
there's
that's wild.
shops anymore. And you know, if you do go on pickup day or do ever walk into the store, you will see guys come through and buy supplies.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and regardless if it's cool or not, everybody's allowed to like whatever they want, but it's on such a watered down scale, like you said. But they partnered up twice or were reacquired twice, right? So their production quantities went up threefold essentially. So
Right.
I mean, there's you got to have an understanding of what's going to happen when that comes. There's going to be a lot less demand when there's a lot more supply for anyone to eat up. And that's where people are losing money and getting frustrated with it. But just remember that Supreme started out as a brand. Any brand can lose resale value. Any
Yeah.
end up in Marshalls. Look at Zoo York back in the day.
Oh
Look
yeah,
at
crazy.
skateboarding brands. If I was to go into a store and find a Zoo York shirt, I'd be buying it immediately. You know, now.
Right. Yeah.
So
Or what's the other one? I remember fucked was FUCT was a big one for a minute.
see all of them, man.
I was wearing their shit for a hot minute. I'm like you. I mean, talk about skateboarding. The last thing you want to see is somebody that's fucking 6 feet tall, 6'5" for that matter, riding a damn skateboard like a moron. My
Hey,
friends will be able to tell you that my center of gravity is not that great. So
yeah, I mean, there's actually, hey, there's some good tall skaters out there. You'd be surprised.
yeah, I think Bob Burnkiss is pretty. Bob Burn,
Quiz, yeah,
whatever. Yeah, he's kind of tall, right?
yeah.
Tall-ish.
I think he's like 6'4".
Yeah. Okay. I was gonna say
Skaters of all time, the lowest vertical, I think, in skateboard history. But that man's a magician on the flip tricks.
my favorite dude to pick for fucking Tony Hawk, pro skater. He
And
was
oh,
my
yeah, true.
that was my favorite go-to cat.
Oh man,
Do you think it's sorry to interrupt you? Do you think it's really hard for people to get into the space? Not as like a be taking consignments and selling stuff on their own, but just hey, I really like this so and so shirt, and unless you're loaded and you have mega level funds where you can walk in and it's sneaker shopping on Complex and you can just buy 5 million pairs of whatever or whatever shirts you want to wear, because it is one of those things. You buy a piece, right, and it's I guess we'll stay on Supreme because I do like their hip hop shirts a lot. That Nas shirt that came out not I think last year, some part of the season. To me, I would love to own that shirt, but it's one of those things like how often can you wear that shirt without looking like you're just wearing the same fucking clothes all day? I got my one Nas shirt, my one Supreme. I need to make sure, I can wear it because you gotta now validate that you spent, I think they're like probably $160 on StockX or something like that.
Right. And that's a great point. And I think I'm not going to ever sit and knock a brand for what they do. Supreme is a genius company. James Jebbia is a very, very smart individual. And if you are, listen, money is what people want and success is what people want. And this place has been open since 1994. If I were the man, yeah, I would be taking the payday all day. And
for sure.
Not to say that that's all I would care about, but you work your ass off not to break even and not to, not receive anything out of it. And to answer your question about, is it hard to enter the space? No, I don't think it's hard to enter any space if you have a plan and you have done your research. Obviously, I don't mean that it's easy to just start anything and become at it. You can't just go and start learning financial algorithms if you've never taken a mathematics business course, or most likely, right?
And you can't go there and look at you, for instance, and be like, well, I want to have all the same stuff he has. And it's like, okay, well, it's not like he went to the store yesterday and was like, you know what, I'll take all this stuff and this is how I want to, I want to present my whatever I have.
It's not good for hunting if that's, if maybe I'm a little bit behind on my references, maybe I'm getting too old, but
no, it makes sense. I mean, like with anything, just like you started off, you said the consistency of what you're doing. And I kind of preach that a good amount in my side of the world of cards, it's, or even just social media, for example. Before the show, we were talking about, sorry to go off on a complete different path, but who gives a shit? Like social media. I never had an Instagram until this started, and you're coaching me. My wife's coaching me. Like, yeah, you got to do this and do that. And I'm like, I've avoided Instagram like the plague, but my Twitter, and just like your Twitter that you started 2011, you said.
Oh yeah, but until I would say until business probably 2015. So it's almost years.
But and in 2015, you weren't like, why don't I have 1 million followers? You were like, all right, I'm going to keep posting, and slowly people are going to keep coming, and then that compounds itself. So I guess a great piece of advice that you were hinting on is whatever space you're going into, whether it's streetwear and shoes or music or cards, whatever, working out, you can't just think you're going to be the top guy right when you just walk in, or be able to build all these connections in one day and then be some like huge mega star,
I think that's, I'm glad you kind of said that, a mega star. I think that's what a lot of people want. And not in a rude way at all. I think it's just, I think that thought process comes along with making money and making new connections, which is, obviously the more people that know you, I guess fame could take on a certain different meaning. But if you're let's call it well known for right now.
Well known and trusted.
But that's exactly what it needs to be. And even if you're not necessarily the most well known, what I would also just say to people is that your repeat customers are your most valuable, and business development is definitely very important. However, that's going to be slower than talking to your repeat customers. And you need to also simultaneously keep at it with, just being transparent with other people. That will ultimately grow your network. And that's what's worked for me. Managing expectations with consignment is probably 75% of my job.
That's wild.
It really isn't, because yeah, sure. Looking in from the outside, it is wild. I've had some interesting conversations, but for the most part, people are beautiful and understanding like my terms when I send them over, and they ask questions if they need to ask follow-up questions, and I'm completely fine with that. I don't ever want somebody to jump into business with me and not have an understanding, but that's why I also just like to keep the system as simple as possible. I'm sure some of you that are watching that have ever worked with me can attest to that. So just all these key points that I'm trying to hit on, I want to just pass that down along to the younger and the older too, and anybody who's, like you said, new into the space. So those things are a lot more important than posting and selling.
Sure.
A lot more deep than posting and selling. Posting and selling is important. Don't forget that.
Of course. Do you remember your first, what was your first consignment like? Because you started off, you didn't start off consigning right away. Let's, I guess now is a good time as any to give people a little background on D-Bloc, and how, in 2015, you started, I'm guessing, selling on Twitter.
Yeah, I was pretty much selling on my own. I actually
your stuff, like your personal items.
Yeah, and 2015, 2016, those 2 years, like, listen, back in the day, like the first ever lineup for the Supreme foam posits, that was nuts. I wasn't out there, during the time, but I believe that was like 2000, forgive me if I'm wrong, like early 2010s. Then you had the Yeezy 2s that came out. So the block was always going absolutely nuts, fights, you name it. And it stopped, right? Like right before the pandemic, everyone's like, no in store, no, absolutely no nothing.
Right.
However, before all that happened, I got lucky enough to be working in Midtown, right near Penn Station. If any of New Yorkers or anybody that's visited knows where that is, it's pretty much the most popular area in the city besides Times Square. Don't go.
Oh shit. Stay away.
Just stay away.
But you get to meet Batman, bro.
Yeah. Where is she?
Yeah.
So yeah, I was lucky enough to be working on like 38th Street and right an avenue over, and there's this big Foot Locker in between Herald Square, 6th Avenue technically, and 7th, where Penn Station is. So I would walk from 8th Avenue, go on my lunch break, and go in, and I would be able to find these like Ultra Boosts early,
Oh,
NMDs
wow.
early, back when Boost was just absolutely dominating. And in New York, that's virtually impossible, especially now. I mean,
Oh, I bet.
like now
That's the same as Chicago.
right. And now with the markup too, ironically, some of the retros do sit. I mean, I see them on Twitter posts all the time, and rightfully so, because they're with tax, it's expensive. But I was able to go in there. There was one time I found these ridiculous NMDs that were like a European Foot Locker exclusive. I mean, I was selling them
Oh,
for
wow.
ridiculous money, but sure enough, all that fizzled out eventually.
Were you taking that money and just repurposing it back into inventory? Obviously paying yourself to, bills and whatever, and then
Yeah. I had a steady paying job at the time. I was working at a sales company, and I was making pretty decent money plus this on the side in order to live in, living here is a beast. That was also 6 years ago now.
does
Crazy.
that contribute to some of your drive too, being there? Like if you were in fucking, not shitting on any of these states, but Podunk, wherever, you put the city in there and you were spending, $300 on rent as opposed to God knows what you're spending now, New York.
Don't remind
Do
me.
you think your drive would be a little peeled back? You'd be like, oh well, I don't need to go as ham.
That's a great question, because I've actually lived in New York my entire life. So I feel like in many ways I could answer that, but I don't even know, because of the fact that I've never even left.
Right.
This really does just pull me back in. And while it is a beast of its own, yeah, I would definitely say that is a lot of what has to do with my drive. But also, I'm programmed. I mean, people know I like to work fast, but I also like to work smart. I think that's a lesson I had to learn really the hard way, multiple times. I want people to know that I am like, this is not some sort of
Gimmick or one off kind of thing.
grown. I might look, we look presentable. We like to do everything in a classy way. And definitely, yeah, I work my absolute ass off in different things as well in order to facilitate my needs and my living. But yeah, New York City for sure will push it can swallow you whole. It has swallowed me whole before, but it really will teach you what the rush and the hustle is really all about. And I also think you can learn a lot from being here.
It's so funny because me, I grew up a city boy, and now I live in the country ish, and I always remember New York, and you always hear those stories from people that live there or have spent a lot of time there, or if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere. And that kind of goes like a gimmick almost, almost like, oh, they're just saying that, it's not that hard. And I'm like, anyone that I've ever talked to and that's from New York and that's actually had to live there, pay rent, pay the bills, eat, and keep up with New York itself. Like, yeah, you could be one of those people that really doesn't give a shit about keeping up with the Joneses in a way. But the city kind of like, I don't know. I mean, everything in life in general kind of will feed into you a little bit. And that city in general has a really, whether it's good or bad, has a way of infecting people to like work harder because they're trying to keep up. Shit, sometimes I think it's the birthplace of where some of the hype has come from, like hype on certain things that just get so crazy.
Fashion's a big one.
It's huge.
There's fashion in general. I mean, everyone comes here. There are a million modeling agencies. There are a million, there, just constant photo shoots if you walk around Manhattan.
Right. I mean, I would love to put LA up against New York.
Oh, for sure.
And just see what they're like. The LA people are going to be way different than New York, and New York's going to be way different than the LA people, even if they're all in the same, for us right now, in the streetwear world, Union LA is a lot different than, insert, a lot different than Kith, for example.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's a different, it's also, taking, separate, leaving out the states and the comparisons of whatever. It really is like a brand is really all about, obviously marketing yourselves and doing all that, but it's really just customer satisfaction at the end of the day for me. Making cool stuff. You can make a million cool things that you think are cool, but you don't always have to be Joe Cool when you're making stuff. It's all about what people really value in your product. And when we're going back to also, I wanted to touch on what you brought up earlier about price points and stuff like that and how everything's marked up. Um, and that's the thing about quality too that I preach, and especially with the clothing that I always want to make and design. Shout out to libraries for putting me on as creative. Really means a lot.
Yeah, right now you're wearing. I mean, and some people will be listening to this, so they won't be able to see, but you're wearing a hoodie.
Yep. I actually just finished this yesterday.
Common sense ain't so common.
Yes.
Your design, right?
That is my design, correct. This was produced by a good friend as well. My friend Dom, shout out to Dom. It's my best friend, one of my best friends right there, best designer I know, best manufacturer I know. So anybody looking for commissions,
yeah, drop the shout out. That's what I'm talking about.
Absolutely.
And this is with a company called
Libraries, yes.
Libraries.
At the end, yes.
And I have your shorts on right now, not yours personally, like from your house, but
they actually are not my give Libraries credit on those shorts. I actually did not design. This is my first ever design, so you got to give credit. I am not I would never do that to them. Wes,
the only reason I came across them is from D-Block, so I am giving him the commission and shout out. That's for me finding these. There's a couple other companies that I buy stuff from. But now that getting more into the space, I kind of like buying stuff from people that I've talked to. Not that I'm against, there's a lot of shit I want, just like people that are into this culture. There's all these things and clothes and shoes that they want.
Of course.
But yeah, I love the shorts. Looking forward to the hoodie. It's cream with red writing if you're listening.
Yes, this is it's like a natural colorway. And then, so this is actually the first I debuted it on D-Block, I guess, platform, whatever block. I don't know.
You heard it here first. That's right.
I'm like so weird about advertising, that kind of stuff.
All good.
So yeah, we have a slate colorway as well. They're very limited. This is going to be part of our higher end collection. We're gonna, have very limited pieces, normal sizing for you guys. So even the guys asking me all the time for 2X, we're taking care of you. I'm taking care of you. We keep everybody in consideration, and we're excited to keep going. And we obviously haven't had a hard launch or anything, but it's really been really great with all the support and everything like that. And also talking about other clothing real quick. This is something where we care about quality. Like this is chain stitched. These blanks have very, very high thread count. I mean, similar to your Kith, right? Everyone loves Kith quality. I mean, it's not the same texture. It's not the same manufacturer. We are not trying to replicate Kith or compete with them in terms of garment content. But we definitely want everybody to feel like they're not wasting their money by having this whatever cheap garment fading and coming apart. That's something I'm really focused on in just everything I do, and even the clothing that I buy from my friends who make clothing as well. They might be expensive, but the longevity factor is where I look at it, especially from behind a consumer's eyes. I personally don't want to buy clothing at a store for $20, like a t-shirt, right? And then, Mom, they're $20 t-shirts if you're listening. $30 Supreme tees, I know weren't cool, but we got $20 tees out there circulating. Yeah, I don't want them to shrink, and I don't want that, or them get pit stained like quickly. You know what I mean? So that gets
don't want to be spending $80 on a Gildan heavy tee.
And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, you know what I mean? There's nothing. If you like something, grab it. But that's that's also interpretive to everybody in a different way.
Right. But that's a great, you know, that almost harks back to what we were talking about earlier. You know, getting into the space, someone's trying to pick out the clothes that they want. Might want to start with quality and the design you like and the style that you like. Obviously, you know, just oh, the shirt feels great, but it says, you know, I'm a shithead on it. Well, probably don't want to buy that one unless you are a shithead. You know you know what I'm saying? So you
Always going after him.
yeah,
Going after them.
you know, so and I've only noticed that, I guess, as I gotten older, because I'm the one that would buy the thing that, you know, everybody, if I could get my hands on it, it's like, oh, I'd be buying the hype, and then I'd wear the shirt once and I'd be like, oh, that was a waste of fucking money, you know.
It depreciates, but at the same time, that's what we're always thinking about, which is like shitty. And I'm guilty of it myself. Is like, oh, if I put it on, like I obviously diminish the value.
Right.
But at the same time, you look at something, you want something, you buy something, and then you have buyer's remorse. Like we're all thinking about market. We're not even thinking about what we like anymore, I feel like. Or maybe we are, but it's like, in my opinion, in a lot of instances, it's very tainted between those two categories, because back in the day, if you bought something you liked, you would like it. I used to have a bunch of photo tees, you know, the Supreme, back when photo tees were like all the rage. Beside that was like right under box logos.
Right.
Is in terms of t-shirts was the photo tees. Like everybody wanted them. And you know, I had a Nas, I had a Morrissey, I had a Neil Young, I had a lot of them. But those were cool to me because those were artists that I really loved.
Yeah, I love them.
But then, you know, you have the repeats and the retros, and I think that's where I got lost.
And now are you more going toward, you're not walking really into stores and buying stuff? Are you more just reaching out to friends like, hey, what are you making? Let me see, and buy from them?
Let's talk about networking again. Yeah, and there's a million different versions and different conversation starters that come in to my messages and all that stuff. But it's I'll always take the opportunity to help people move everything with, you know, especially with consignment. I'm not going to reject anything that I don't have interest in.
Sure.
There's no love in this. Another thing, don't try to staple yourself into the ground. You and I talked about this a lot yesterday. Don't ever nail yourself into the ground because by selling one specific category. That's a
disaster.
It's not a disaster. Listen, there are very few people that have mastered that. Like I know just Air Max accounts, like you know, strictly Air Max. Actually, I think he might even only post Air Max ones. I know a guy who posts only Bapes. Those guys have been around for a very long time, and not to say you can't do that, but it's a very difficult thing to constantly source the same theme. And
for sure,
a few people that do it, and if everybody could do it, they would be. But unless you have that consistency, never leave your heart in it, and never discount anything unless it's something, you know, ridiculous that has, you know, a tainted image or something you don't feel comfortable with. That's okay.
Right.
Obviously, a lot of people can relate to that these days, but we don't have to touch specifics on that. So I'm sure most people watching understand what I'm referencing.
Oh yeah. There's plenty of things out there. There's some things that I bought during the pandemic, and I'm like, I probably just gonna leave that in the closet.
You all called out during that pandemic, huh? Nothing else.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. So that's kind of a two-parter. So, you know, you started selling your own stuff, and then did somebody just approach you and say, hey man, I got all this stuff and I want to move it? Because that's what happens to me sometimes in the card world. I get people that go, man, I got way too much shit. Either buy me out and, you know, I'll give you a great discount and you can sell it yourself, or I'll consign it to you and, you know, you take a cut, I'll take a cut, you handle all the shipping and the kind of grunt work, I guess. Is that you know, kind of how it went for you, or how?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I would like to consider myself just like kind of a creative person, but I'm very visual. I'm not a great artist in terms of illustrating and drawing and painting, you know, let's name every category of art. It was just never really, and I really encourage everybody, if you're feeling uncomfortable with something that you're not good at, just keep practicing at it. Because if I could tell my 16-year-old self to go back to chorus and to go back to band and all that stuff, I think what I'm embarking on soon would have been made a lot easier. But again, it's never too late to try any of that out.
Yeah, remind me to ask you about what you're embarking on soon, since you brought it up.
Yeah, and I will for sure, and I will in a bit once I finish this point. But I think in terms of just it's a difficult question, but yeah, I wasn't really making that much clothing, I guess, at the time. I wasn't really defined as that. I was really more so trying to channel my goals and my interests by, you know, at least testing the waters. And we made the first crew necks I made. I didn't even send anybody a picture. People pre-ordered it, a dozen of them, and that was amazing. And I got great feedback. But the next t-shirts I made, I gave them away for free after a while in orders. And that's also something that I forgot to answer, so I'm going to answer this now. When you're making clothing, don't just think that making the cheapest option and trying to sell it for a big profit is going to make you successful, because obviously it's nice to set the bar low and raise it up, right? But the big thing is making sure that, again, I'll say it till I'm blue in the face, your customers are satisfied and they get what they are advertised of getting.
Especially in the clothing space,
Absolutely.
you know,
order online now. So fits are extremely important. As much as I hate taking out the measuring tape, yes, pit to pit, I understand it. It's my least favorite question, but I do it for everybody because I have to, and I understand it. But it's important to not get worried up and twisted up on spending as little money as possible for someone to manufacture it for you, and then you get your things in and you're not even happy with it, and then you have to sell it. So expect to lose a little bit of money in the beginning as well, because your overhead is going to outweigh your profits before you start anything.
Yeah, you're not fucking you know, Balenciaga or something like that, where you can just afford to make whatever the hell you want.
But how do you think Balenciaga got its start? You know what I mean? How do you think all these brands got its start? You know,
exactly.
And that's not to say that they didn't have rich and powerful people investing in that. You know, there's obviously different stories all around.
Sure.
And some of them might have had just smooth, you know, upcomings, like how you were talking about just a second ago. But especially these small brands, I mean, everybody's making t-shirts, everybody's making their own brand right now. But that's not something that should deter anyone from pushing themselves. You know,
now,
even your product, and stand by it.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Did you see a crazy uptick during the pandemic for you? Was it harder for you to get consignments, or did you see like a explosion?
I think 2020 was booming for me in terms of consumer goods, because really, what the hell else did anybody have to do? They really didn't have anything to do. So
you were their mall.
What do you say?
You were their mall. Since they couldn't go to the mall, they were like, all right, let's just check out what D-Bloc's posting. I'll buy that.
Listen, there were not a lot of things for people to do, as mentioned before, but yeah, I definitely saw an uptick during the pandemic. Consignment was actually really going well.
Did you see it ending, or did you see it getting to where it is now? Where, I mean, yeah, you have your following, but I'd imagine, just like for you and many of us, myself included, a downtick, I guess the best way to put it. Nothing crazy. We're not where you're like, oh shit, I'm going to go out of business. But
right. Yeah, the year after was definitely very difficult. Once, I mean, I'm sure you remember, February 2021 was one of the best months anybody's ever had. Remember the cards during February 2021? Yeah. It was insane. So
everything.
Yeah, I definitely knew that the hurrah would end. So I will admit, spring of 2021, all the way until probably like shit, like, you know, into this year even was really difficult.
And is that pushing you to go into these other routes? Like, I'm guessing you've always wanted to design your own clothes and stuff.
I'd say that's part of it. I mean, I'm not really all. Here's my thing. I like to do a lot. I think sometimes the nail your foot in the floor comment applies to the avenues I want to explore. And the way I'm looking at life now is um, consider every opportunity that comes your way. Um, that's something that I've has really helped me um, grow, learn, um, come into touch with a lot of things that I am interested in my life that I am able to apply now and maybe kind of uh, not kind of, but also just be able to produce things and make them come to life. That's a hard lesson that I learned back in the day, but as mentioned before, it's never too late. So for me to start re-exploring my talents like that I've had, you know, for a long time, and um, I've had some, you know, people taking me under their wing recently.
I was going to ask you, you know, do you have any mentors out there?
Absolutely. I want to thank my boy E for really humbling me and always, uh, you know, keeping me schooled on not just life, but you know, music and everything like that. And he's been a big help to me, and yeah, man, like a father figure to me. So I definitely
Good.
appreciate that a lot from him. I love you, bro.
Oh, nice. Well, that was a really badass shout out, E. You seem like a good guy, I guess.
He's a great.
Uh, anybody else, or E's numero uno?
I mean, my mom is an incredible woman. She supports everything. I mean, I think back in the day, uh, baby boomer parents weren't so open to things, and that was a huge blessing, was to have kind of my parents. My
Supportive.
father's a little bit more closed-minded. Sorry, Dad, but you know, it's just how they're programmed and everything. But he's not a hater like that, and neither is my.
Does he wear Supreme?
You know what? I actually did get him for Hanukkah, Christmas, whatever, one year. I got him actually it's pretty rare. I think it's like the clear glass, like mini box logo Supreme ashtray. You know what he keeps in there? Guitar picks, and he doesn't.
Oh, nice. Perfect.
And right hand to God on that one, I swear. But it's cool, yeah. So
That's hilarious.
yeah, no, Supreme. How many Supreme topics we got here, Paulie?
I know. Sorry. I mean, it's.
I know. I'm messing around.
I mean, that's the, you know, to me that it's so funny because that's the brand I know that you could mention to some no one that knows shit about fuck, and they're like, you know, and they're like, yeah, do you know what Supreme is? Oh yeah, I think I've heard of that. I've seen that
Absolutely.
stupid red sticker.
And I don't blame you for asking, because it did pretty much pave the way for, you know, streetwear just going crazy, you know. So
not FUBU.
dude, love FUBU, man.
I did too, man.
I had a royal blue baseball jersey and matching blue shorts, all FUBU, bro. I wore that for like, I was like 7 years old rocking that, man.
I had red sweater just like LL Cool J.
Open-minded.
What's up?
I told you my parents became a little bit more open-minded as the years went on. They kind of started letting me rock. But would you have FUBU pants?
I had a red FUBU sweatshirt, just like LL Cool J. You know, it had the FB on the front with the fuzzies kind of deal. Oh, Jesus Christ! Don't got that anymore. I wish I still did. Some of that. I wish some of those clothes I wish I would have kept. You know, but some of them you give to Goodwill because you're like, I'm never gonna wear this shit again, and now I've become a fucking hoarder with my clothes. I can't get rid of anything. Like this shirt right here is a Pusher T-shirt, Pusher T. I just like it. It's a good shirt. The back of it's got a massive. It's funny you talk about making clothes. Like I'm in the process of trying to make T-shirts, and I've explained to you my very difficult path to getting shirts made and shorts and pants and
Right.
everything that I want to do creatively. And this shirt I bring around because the back of it, I'm not even going to turn around because you might not be able to see.
Well, you are turning around, yeah.
But it's a massive print, you know. And you bring this to people and they go, oh, I can't, you know, can't do that. And you gave me a good tip the other day. You're like, don't try to get the stuff local. Don't buy, you know, some big produced massive amounts of shirts. You might as well, kind of like you said, eat that cost just a little bit, and the shirts will be a little better. And, you know, the more you make later on, that's when you can start seeing some residuals from that.
It is really what you're going for. Like, if you're not trying to make high-end clothing, then don't lose money. You know what I mean? Like,
right. If you're a bar, if you're Hooters, don't be fucking making $50 t-shirts.
Or like, think about it like all the World Series tees they print that they sell at Modell's. That's how I look at it. It's like they're gonna sell, right? So if you do it right and you get the right application and you get somebody who's clean with it, yeah. But I think there's a big rush to, they're like, okay, we got the design, let's order, let's go.
Right.
And it requires so much more than that. Especially if you're working with someone or someone's got stake in your production or whatever, you know what I mean? Or their designated tasks that they need to be compensated for in terms of the weighted percentage of the business, right? So a lot of that is a play in. However, I wouldn't say you have to go out of your way to lose money. I never do that in anything.
Right. Are there any designers that you,
unless you're buying your significant other a nice gift, then I think that's okay.
That's a good point. I bought my wife her first pair of Jordans like 6 months ago, but she's not a sneaker person by any means. She's like a shoe lady, like most women are, you know, or a lot of women are. Don't want to get in trouble here. You know, that are into shoes. I got as many shoes. I got many pairs of shoes as my wife, which I guess is kind of funny because it brings me into what I asked you about before we got started recording here. So I guess another little background tidbit, I would see D-Block post shoes all the time, you know, and I usually tag him in any shoe post if I'm trying to move a pair of shoes or I'm looking for a pair of shoes. And he's always posting shoes. And sometimes I've seen you post, I mean, grip of shoes, but they're not yours, obviously. And I would think in my head, just assuming, I'd be like, oh, he's probably got, you know, drop fronts all in his closet, and it's just some crazy rare, you know, whatever you want to say. And then I feel now's the better time than any to ask you, you know, how many pairs of shoes do you own?
I get this question all the time, so it's really funny. I used to buy and sell and like rotate out shoes after I was done liking them or whatever, had use for them. I used to have a lot of shoes. I don't think I ever had a solid count, like I said, because I would rotate, but also not like, wasn't really out there for the flex. I always said to everybody, I buy what I like. Like, you know, I once had like a pair of those Supreme CDG Air Force Ones, like the black ones.
Oh yeah.
And you know, that's not a pair that I see many people wearing, but also at the same time, I'm not going out of my way. I'm just buying what I like.
CDG, everybody is Comme des Garçons.
Yes,
correct.
About that, Comme des Garçons. Yes.
Yeah. So I'm sure some of the peeps on here will be like, CDG, man. What the hell's that?
I thank you for bringing that up, so I don't seem like too much of a smartass. But I have actually, if you want to count my Vans and like my slides, we can do that separate. But in terms of like actual sneakers, I have 4 total pairs of sneakers, and I barely wear any of them. And it's,
what's your go-to? Checkered Vans?
Look, I mean, hey, I gotta take my shoes off during.
There it is.
But yeah, all day, bro.
Best shoe ever made.
I don't understand because I got such a banged up body, but for some reason or what, not like my Vans just hold me up well. I don't know. Maybe I got flat feet. Who knows?
They are my go-to shoe ever since I bought them once for deployment as my like kind of kick around shoe.
Right. Thank you for your services, by the way, bro. I appreciate you.
For sure. Easy day. And yeah, they just became like my all around shoe. They were skinny, they could fit into anything, you know, and then I just didn't stop wearing them. And now I got a bunch of shoes that I mostly wear, I guess, to flex, or because I want to wear them. And they're not even really like a big flex. It's not like I'm throwing on off-white Chicago's or something like that. You know, I'm
Yeah, those are,
bread ones, you know, is like my grail shoe in my closet.
yeah, but Jordan 1s are Jordan 1s, man. Those are timeless shoes, and who cares, man? Like I said, wear what you want. It's not about any of that. If you want to feel good and post your shoes up, go do it, man. If that's what you want to do. I mean, just all I always tell people is don't ever wear anything for other people's satisfaction, you know.
That's right.
Like you called it a flex, but it's your own flex. You want to look good and feel good. It's not like you're going out trying to impress the whole.
Look at my shoes that you can look up online. Like, yeah, I got them, you know, and you
That I'm
can,
not looking at because we're in a dimly lit restaurant sitting with somebody. You know what I mean? But that's fine. You want to go to a nice restaurant and dress nice and put on a fresh pair of kicks that you don't wear all the time? Hell yeah. You want to put on your Vans? You can do
put
it
them
like
the fuck on.
I don't know if you
It's,
want to take notes on my dating life, but yeah.
I mean, it's kind of funny if the way it kind of got, because you would see there was a point where you wouldn't see certain comedians and stuff like that ever even dipping their toe in the sneaker game. And now it's like everybody has sneakers. You know, like I watch sneaker shopping all the time because I think it's kind of funny to see some of the people that roll in there, and I'm like, when did you get into shoes? You
Yeah.
know, and I think they just had like Stone Cold on, and it was funny to watch him because he literally was buying fucking Asics. You know, not some cool rare Gelcano. He's like, yeah, the Asics from Ross.
A lot of injuries. I'm sure those supportive Asics are really what he needs in life.
That's what he was wearing on the show, you know, and he wasn't, and I appreciated that because it's not like he was like, oh yeah, these blah 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 Gatorade sixes, you know, I had them when they first came out, and you know, now I need another pair, and I'm gonna get the Macklemores now too. You know, it's like, okay, well, now you're just doing it for the show. But do you really like them? You know?
At the same time, you know, like a show like that, they gotta go chase him, and to be, it's not a show I watch anymore. But you know, shout out to what they're doing because they're consistent, and even if it's people that are up and coming, you know, like I said a couple of days ago to you about just like using your platform, you know, a lot of a platform like Complex, I'm sure, is very, very eager to put someone up and coming on their platform and be like, oh, okay, you know, like I saw that on sneaker shopping. Now I'm gonna get in. So from a business standpoint, it's as much of as much of tunnel vision I have when I was thinking of everything from a business standpoint. It's sometimes a bad habit, but
Sure.
it's what they got to do, and it's what they do on a very consistent basis. So it's a very talented team, I'm sure, working for curation over there, even though they do have the big name already.
Yeah, it's wild. I mean, even their, you know, the full size run show. I mean, they've been crushing with that. I mean, Complex Con, as you know, is like I never got to go, but you know, when I was in San Diego for a while, it was always a thing. You know, LA was popping off for Complex Con weekend, or
That just passed, right? It was like 2 weeks ago.
yeah, and I'm sure it was another hit. I
Yeah, I
don't
think
know what.
it's actually a lot better than the last two like Riot ram the doors down events. So that's good to hear.
Yeah, I don't even know what shoes dropped.
I preach safety. If you
Yeah.
on the line, like
Oh, I've waited for one pair of shoes. I'll never do it again. But when I used to, you know, when I did the one time, I was like, well, at least everybody's civil, you know,
yeah,
because it can get heated. That's for damn sure. I've definitely seen some videos. Not good times.
the best is when the guy in the front who claims he got there first cuts the entire line and starts making a fake list on a piece of loose leaf paper. Those were the days, man. I'm glad I've retired from the picnic chair camp out life. That's definitely something I'm very okay with not doing anymore. But shout out to the people that do chase, because I know a lot of people that drive around all day just going and doing it. So you got to respect those people too.
Yeah, that's a full-time fucking job. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah. They don't sleep. They sleep in their cars, and it's no disrespect to them. It's just how hungry they are. So
yeah, it's impressive. I mean, then you see some pictures and it's like, yeah, I got the hottest shit that just came out.
yeah.
Speaking of the hottest shit that just came out, so what are the 4 shoes that you do have? Oh, and your sweater, obviously. What are the 4 actual sneakers that you own? Since now I need to sell the rest of mine and just get it down to 4 because I feel like I'm a hoarder.
Talked about consignment. I'll send you my terms.
There it is.
So this pair hasn't been used in a while. Unfortunately, I've had to take a little bit of a break from playing, but I was lucky enough to grab these on sneakers. So naturally, I kept them. I love those the Kobe Bruce Lees.
Yeah, if for the listeners, yeah, the Kobe. I don't know which
alternate Bruce Lees.
Yeah, so they're the black with the white vamp on there, pretty much.
Pretty much, yeah. And the yellow one is pretty much from the suit he wore in Enter the Dragon, and this is when he gets scratched on his chest by. I always forget his name.
Kareem? No, it's that weird dude with the claw.
Yeah, in the mirror.
I'm thinking of a different movie with Kareem.
So yeah, these were something I always wanted to hang on to. I had only one pair of Kobe's before, but they were a 12, and they like busted up my feet. So when I got these, I'm like, just for the sole fact that they're Kobe's and they're great basketball shoes. Hopefully, I'll be able to use them one day.
They are the most sought after basketball shoe in the NBA. All Kobe's, pretty much. They became like a crazy thing during the pandemic, and when Kobe passed away, rest in peace. His wife, was going to sign. This is a little history thing for people that don't know, I guess. His wife said, "You know what? Fuck it. I'm not doing any more shoes." And all of the big sizes were getting picked up by NBA basketball players because they love playing in them. I don't even think that.
You look at the bubble; they're all wearing Grinches and Bruce Lees.
Yeah, and I don't think they were doing it just to honor Kobe. I'm sure that was, a little bit, but most of it was they were like, these are the best shoes out. And I don't know. I don't understand
here, in my opinion, but at the same time, they really are great for people who don't wear high tops. I'm used to be a high top guy. I have ankle issues. These are the 5s, and the Grinches are the 6s, right?
Yeah,
on that.
That sounds right. That's what I was going to ask you.
Kobe kid as a kid, because I think Kobe's and KD's and all that Nike basketball was just a little after my time. I was a Nike SB guy. But yeah, I think these were probably the best non-high top shoes I've ever played in. That's for sure.
Yeah, and then she came back and she obviously signed inked the deal with Nike, and boom, we have Kobe's, again, at least for the foreseeable future. Yeah. What else do you got?
All right. So yeah, that's my basketball pair. This is my favorite, the only Jordan 1 in my collection, ironically. Might have to clean these even though they look dirty, but these are my Nigels.
Nigel Sylvester is a BMX rider. He's got another pair of shoes coming out in a few months, I think, with Jordan brand. But the Jordan 1 High OG Nigel Sylvester.
I keep going wrong way on the camera. Sorry, guys. But yeah, they come pre-stressed. Some of them were more white and saily. Some of them are a little bit more yellowed, like you can see back here on mine. I am so bad on this camera.
You're good.
It's like when you borrow someone's computer and they have the reverse scroll. So those are my pair of Jordan 1s. That's probably my favorite pair that I wear. I guess that's probably the only pair I wear out of these 4 I'm going to show you.
I have a very good story about the Nigel Sylvester 1. By the way, Nigel, if you ever listen to this podcast, you still owe me the pair. I have the screenshot. Okay, I'm keeping the receipts until I get my pair. But
Nigel, Brooklyn. I know you're in Queens. Come through Brooklyn, and we'll link up on Paulie's behalf.
Yeah, let's do it. I'll trade you a pair of cactus plant Grinches, for Christ's sakes.
I'm sure he'll definitely take that trade.
The Nigel ones came out. I missed on sneakers. He was on Twitter and he was doing some sort of like kind of shock drop thing. This is years ago. I think those came out in 2018.
Yep. I had like the most amount of pairs of them. I wish I never sold them, but go ahead.
Oh, and I hit him up on Twitter, just one of those like, bro, where's my size 12? And he goes, let me see what I got. Responds to my post, let me see what I got, and I'll hit you up. And I'm like, holy shit, this guy responded to me, you know, and I'm like, he really
Runs pretty well. He's a humble guy.
But you know, it's funny because Twitter, you know, a lot of people shit on it, but you'd be surprised at, I feel the engagement from people that are quote unquote famous, that have, you know, 100-something thousand followers, that they'll more often than not be more susceptible, I feel to like or comment back.
That's how you gain supporters, and that's how you gain.
Yeah, I mean, that shoe that you have, I'll be hunting for it until I have it in my grasp. I think I'm getting closer as the days go on here, but we'll see.
They were $240 at one point, man. It's a scary thought on the aftermarket.
It's so crazy.
Crazy.
It's all of those things are so crazy. You see, I wonder how many pairs of anything that people have that aren't even into sneakers, that are just sitting them in a closet, and whether they hit or miss, and they're just waiting until they hear the right thing and they go, oh, that shoe ended up doing really well. Like Panda Dunks. Okay.
It's a pandemic, man.
Who would have ever thought that the Panda Dunk was going to be the Panda Dunk that it is? I would say the biggest shoe ever.
Black and white. It's a black and white shoe.
I don't get it. I don't get it at all.
It's a simple design for Nike. I mean, it's the Dunk, number one. Number two, black and white. I mean,
yeah,
pairs you make and the amount of pairs. First of all, we see what's going on with the Nike warehouse now, and same thing with everything. Supply chains are always messed up right now, and you see mold on really expensive Jordans.
Yeah,
my Montes came from Nike with mold. I saw the other day, so that's even crazy on the netting.
Oh man! So how is that happening? Is it because they're getting stuck out at sea or something like that?
I mean, if they're stuck out at sea, you're going through salt water. So I feel like the opportunity of mold is way less. Like standing dry water is usually what causes that. And like ocean water eventually will evaporate because it's got salt in it. You know what I mean? So
right.
That's usually due to warm temperatures and moisture. Whether those were already in the facility, the Nike facility, or they were overseas, it's possible. You know, but just really, I've never actually seen that in all my years. I've never seen that. It could have happened and I don't know about it. But at least from my experience, that is something I've never in my life seen or even imagined. Like it was the non-exclusive access pairs too that were the ones with the mold. I was like
weird
exclusive access, and I wound up getting rid of them because that's my job. You can't do this.
The fours?
No, these were the ones. The lost.
Oh, the ones.
My phone.
Oh, lost found ones. Yep.
Yeah, and they were perfect. And then once I saw everyone who hit the actual real sneakers draw,
moldy shoes
were messed up, and I was like, wow, you know, clearly they were in two different spots. But
for sure,
crazy.
Yeah, it's so fucking nuts to me. You usually see damage on shoes from people that have kept them, you know, poor, or you see somebody open some old, you know, crazy Jordan 1 and it just cracks into a million pieces because they've never done anything with it. What's that you got in your hand now?
So this is a really cool one, in my opinion. This is like a shoe. A lot of the shoes I have left now to show you, the last two, these are like really sentimental to me.
Okay.
It's actually, I believe, the first ever shoe series for the 420 series for Nike SB. These are the Cascade Hemps from the silver box era.
What color are they?
It's a Cascade kind of blue. So
okay.
You got that little, very subtle, and then the outsole is also blue with the gum sole, which is really, I love these so much. So these were part of the original 420 pack. I believe these were the first ever 420 dunks to be made for Nike SB.
Wow.
This is what I always wanted as a kid. The bonsais, the green ones, were Japan exclusive in the 13. I think it's pretty much unfindable. And I used to have the mahoganies. And like I was telling you earlier, dumb college me Decided to beat the shit out of them because I got them for $100, believe it or not, back in the day, kids. That was what it was like.
Amazing.
So that one was great. I found that 15 years later, that pair 15 years later after they came out, and
during the pandemic.
Yep. What didn't we find in the pandemic besides safety?
Oh, really? Yeah, for sure.
Really? Sorry, that's dark.
No, you're good.
And then my last pair is really sentimental to me. You know, when you're a kid working for $7.05 an hour at a sporting goods store, and you know, maybe my parents gave me like $20 allowance for just doing chores around the house. That was very, very nice of them, but still it was very hard to, you know, maintain any sort of money at that age.
Right.
So we went to as mentioned before, I got moved out to the suburbs, and we went into a local skate shop, my best friend and I. And, you know, he was a little bit more able at the time, or I guess he just had the money. Sorry, dude. You know what? You know who you are. You're my boy. I love you. But this pair was a pair that was on sale in the local skate shop, and I was unable to buy them, and I fell in love with them, and he bought them, and I was just never more jealous of somebody in my entire life. And I want to be rich, but
rich is good. Being rich is nice. That would be really nice.
Yeah, it's not everything though.
No,
kids and adults and everybody. But these are the brain wrecks, and this shoe, in my opinion, doesn't really get any like attention, which is like, you know, normal.
Never seen that shoe other than when you showed it to me before we started.
Yeah, so it's embossed on the back. Yep.
Yeah, if you're listening, it says brain wreck on the back. I really do love brains. I should probably get like a Tasty Brains pair.
Whoa. And then the inside insole is just absolutely crazy. Carved out.
It's all like stitched brains. If you look at my logo, it's kind of like that.
Yeah, exactly. And then you got like pink leather. It's just definitely a weird shoe. The upper's all suede and stuff, but it's a beautifully crafted shoe. And it was just something as a kid. You like loud things, or at least I did.
Oh yeah, I went through a big red phase. All red shoes. You know, I wanted red Octobers really bad, and I could never get them. And I was just hunting red shoes. I'm like, oh, I need all red shoes. You know, for what? I have no fucking clue.
Each their own, my dude.
Yeah. Are you still? Do you take more consignments for shoes rather than clothes, or it's kind of just people that are shopping to you? They're like, hey, I got this, I need to move it.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much how it goes. I think I post enough variety for people to see that, like, you know, a t-shirt, you know, whatever brand name it is, even designer, like I'll take in anything that I know can move. If it's like some G-Star pants or like whatever, obviously, you know, I'm not going to take in mass brands like that unless they're whatever.
Right.
Only because I tell people like it'll probably be just better for you to do it on your own.
Then you taking a cut, and then
right, exactly, you know, a cut and then shipping it. You know, I always again like to be very transparent with people, and it's a lot of work for myself at the end of the day. Although I obviously can do it, people I think really know what to ask in terms of items they know that fit in the demographic that I'm selling to, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And do you kind of know? Do you have people that reach out to you that are just like, hey, I'm looking for this, this, and this. Can you help me find it? Or do you have people that you're kind of privately curating for or anything like that?
I try to privately curate as much as I can, but it's an extremely difficult job with all the volume. Like I could ask a million different people, but it's just not that easy anymore.
Right.
It used to be, when, you know, there weren't as many people doing it. As weird as that and as contradictory as that might sound, you would think the more people that are doing it.
Sure.
But then you got to relay back the price, and it's hard to broker it now. So for me, again, going back to working smarter and not just harder, that's not necessarily going to be worth my time. Unless it's a really big ticket item, you know what I mean? Unfortunately, I do favors for people all the time. I'm always willing to help. But I'm it's business, you know. I mean, I'm here to do business.
What's the biggest item you've tried to move or moved, for that matter?
Well, you know, it's funny because unless you're selling like an Air Mag or a ridiculous, you know, like a pair of Parises or some crazy stuff, you know, I'm not touching 6 digits with my thing, with my numbers. However, I've gotten some, you know, even right now in stock, we have some pretty high end shoes. There are 3 more coming in this week that, or maybe even 4 more, I think now. Just a bunch of really, really classic Jordan 1s. And, you know,
Do you have anyone working with you? Sorry to interrupt you. Just
Nope.
solo, huh? And everything's coming to a warehouse. I guess you don't want to put that out there where your shit's getting delivered to, but
It goes to a very safe. It goes to a very safe place.
okay, nice.
That's guaranteed. And then I have a process, so I do have certain help when it comes to logistics,
right?
Because of the area gap in terms of location. But
sure.
Yeah, everything is pretty much done by myself. Yeah.
That's fucking nuts. And now that you said Jordan 1s, what Jordans are coming in?
Well, I like to keep that in suspense. Only
I got a problem.
No, it's weird. They're all 11.5s too.
Oh, fuck my life.
How you market people, okay? On a podcast, on a press release, it doesn't matter.
You hear that? D-Block's gonna have plenty of 11.5s that probably I won't be able to afford on his page.
I wouldn't say plenty, but definitely, like we were talking about, quality over quantity, dude. Biggest item I've tried to sell. I mean, I have a very rare. I have some very rare pieces, like, you know, some art and stuff like that. But, you know, Cause 4s, Chicago Off-Whites. I mean,
yeah, that's
I think now there are very few sneakers that people want to even let go to a private consignor, I guess. Especially going to like the Off-White line, a lot of yellowing, so people are going to sell them on the apps, which you know, will most likely result in a defect, right? Because it's over a certain amount. It's a very expensive shoe.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't even know what an Off-White one Chicago's going for now. Is it, you know,
I believe they've touched around like 6 or 7K, believe it or not. And it's
crazy.
It's crazy, man.
What a shoe that, I mean, from a guy that just flipped the fucking script on Jordans, that's for damn sure. I think a lot of copycats now, you know. I think I want to say his like death, you know, anniversary, whatever you want to call it.
Or yesterday.
Yesterday, right?
Yes.
Yeah, he was a beast. I never have gotten to even I've touched a pair at a store, you know. God knows if they were real or not. But yeah, I've always regretted. I wish I would have pushed harder in trying to get any one pair that he designed, not really what they're doing now with like, oh, we're just going to repurpose Air Force Ones and we'll put these green ones out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That was in the plan, though. I do believe that was in the plan.
Right.
He's also a pioneer. You know, he was a pioneer. He was a very, very underappreciated dude in the last 2 years of his life, in my opinion. Just because he was the face of everything, you know,
quiet, super duper quiet. I remember seeing videos. One day I saw a video of him DJing, and I'm like, "What the fuck is he DJing
that's how
for?"
Virgil met a lot of people, man. He was a DJ. I mean, also has produced music.
Yeah, network.
He worked on the Air Yeezy too. It's pretty amazing what all the things that he's done. I mean, that fashion show, the Paris fashion show.
Oh, nuts.
That was just unbelievable with all the flowers and Kid Cudi walking in it and giving, like, you know, people that would never walk in a runway show that aren't models the accessibility to do that and like show love for the people that you actually are close with, you know what I mean? And giving them opportunities instead of always trying to make yourself look the best.
And he just said, fuck it, I'm going to innovate all this designer bullshit that no one can afford anyways, that no one. let's face it, man. Like, not everybody wants to wear the shit you see on a runway, but he was like, "Well, you'll want to wear this, and I'm just gonna write Off-White on it, and it'll look cool." And
He did his product, man, and
he did, man.
He had great time. I actually watched a short reel on him yesterday that a friend had sent me, and he gave great advice in terms of like just 5 quick steps, and they're not too puzzling, you know what I mean? They're not such complicated principles, but he did give some really cool insight at one point of how to do things in terms of trying to make, bring your brand to a successful height, or and a lot of the things I like had agreed with, and it's something that I think everybody should watch, is to look at the people who have had the success. Look at the people. It's not like they just became these people, right?
Right.
Like, everyone has a starting point. Your podcast has a starting point. My Twitter and my social media and my business has a starting point. Everything.
Right.
So, I think that's also important to really consider and note.
And it's so funny for a guy like him in an age of mega, get your brand out there, get your brand out there, get your brand out there, social media, post. You got to do interview. Bad news is good news. Good news is good news. Do it all. Keep going. You got to make sure you're on every single fucking radar and the Google Analytics and all this. And meanwhile, this guy's like, yeah, I mean, I'm going to make my stuff. I'm going to use my skills. I don't need to talk about it every goddamn 5 minutes for everybody. I'm going to let what I'm doing, it kind of a less is more attitude. And
Sure.
And he's like, if they like it, they like it. And I'm going to keep doing what I think looks good or that I enjoy. And I think people will enjoy it too. Kind of seemed like his mindset. I mean, it's sometimes those quiet ones, that are not even out there talking about, he died from a disease. I can't remember what he died from.
I'm trying to remember myself.
I can look it up because I got a computer here. But he wasn't out there advertising what he was dying from.
He kept it a complete secret. He kind of did it like what Chadwick Boseman did back in 2 years ago, which is awfully
exactly where I was going to go with that.
Loved him as an actor. Rest in peace to Chadwick too.
Yeah, I mean, he died from cancer. Sorry. For over 2 years, Virgil valiantly battled a rare aggressive form of cancer, cardiac angiosarcoma. Sounds.
That's what it was. Yeah, it was some really rare shit.
And of course it's something really fucking rare, but in the day of where it's like, I feel like there's more often than not someone famous gets cancer and they want to make sure every motherfucker knows I got cancer. Brand my cancer, Instead, he's like, the last thing I want is anybody to know that, except for people that really care about me.
Exactly.
Same thing with Chadwick Boseman. I mean, shit, no one had any fucking clue.
This is family.
And he was just crushing Black Panther. He looked like, a stud.
Unbelievable, man. He said he was so sick during so many days of filming, and he lost so much weight. And I believe someone in the media actually gave him a lot of shit, saying he looked frail. How was this?
Oh, yeah.
And the internet's the internet. It's never going to not be the internet. It's just sad to, and the same with Virgil, like the whole $50 thing, like,
yeah,
keep it a Virgil, Obviously these guys have better things to worry about, but like, they're sick and then people are just ragging on them. Like that life, that to live those last couple of months, year of your life, like just dealing with that and trying to just stay out of the way and not talk about it, it's got to just be one of the most difficult things ever.
For sure. There is no way that's not on the forefront of your mind.
Yeah.
Everywhere you're going.
Yeah. And I wouldn't consider them heroes for that, but they are heroes to me in a way that, like you said, they were very, very about what they did. And they wanted to make sure that what they did wasn't based on anything anyone was going to feel bad for them about or use a sympathy card for them. They loved what they did and they loved the way they made people feel. And I think that's like one of the biggest accomplishments you could ever have in life, as long as you're happy with yourself. And they had very little time left on this earth.
So crazy. It's always weird when you hear some, you know, young guy, girl, whoever, just boom, you know, you didn't even see it coming.
Especially now, it's like everything is breaking, you know, like even the violence, like Takeoff a couple of weeks ago, like that was just nuts.
Insane. And it's so funny because that happened here in Houston.
You know what? I apologize. I didn't even put two and two together on that.
Yeah, and I was never a big. I like some Migos songs, but I wouldn't listen to a whole album. You know,
Right.
no offense, Migos fans. I do think that they fucking sparked a whole new style of rap.
Absolutely.
Well, maybe I'm sure there was tons of other people doing it, but they're the group that they're the Tribe Called Quest of that style.
That trap era.
You know, kind of auto-tuned. You know, I guess we can get on the music tip for a little bit. You know,
they were very they weren't taken very seriously, but then, you know, guys like Drake getting on Versace, and then just I'll never forget Bad and Bougie. Just like every time you heard that when that first came out, you just wanted to turn up. There was something about that song.
And man, Handsome and Wealthy, I think's the name of the song.
Wealthy, oh man.
Yeah, that one makes me turn up every time I hear it. And I heard that on a show on Netflix called The Wizards or fucking something. I can't remember what it's called, but it's some show about wizards and shit. And the one guy eats a bunch of mushrooms. The show's really great, by the way. Oh, Magicians. That's what it's called.
Eats a bunch. Incredible show already.
It's a great show. And there's a scene where like this kind of nerdy dude, he's really good at baking magical things, and he bakes these crazy trippy mushrooms. And he imagines them. He starts tripping balls, and the song "Handsome and Wealthy" comes on. He's got like half naked chicks everywhere, half naked dudes, and they're all just tripping balls and weird foods all over the place. The show's wild. Magicians on Netflix. There's a shameless plug.
Anyone's trying to, you know,
enlighten their minds.
Sure, let's go with that. Thank you for answering that for me. I was gonna go so different there.
Yeah, great show. Man, I forgot where we're. Oh, music. Yeah, they were a group that I kind of just liked a few songs here and there. Do you for your clothing stuff that you're trying to design, is there musical influence there for you? And who are they?
I mean, in my life, for sure, a lot of musical influence, like on a lot of things I do. Do you
listen to just rap?
No, I listen to everything. So my dad definitely grew. Let me take a second. My dad played a lot of blues and classic rock in the house, so I was always listening to like B.B. King, Muddy Waters, Eric Johnson.
Record player?
Say what?
Was he playing it on a record player? I know, weird fucking question.
No, not at all. We actually still have like that 80s style vinyl where it has that lucite cover that goes over it.
Oh yeah.
Not a cool one. No hornograph or anything like that. But
who gives a shit? Those are sexy though.
It doesn't get used, so it's a shame. But no, we had some laser discs though. We had some jumbo laser.
Oh damn!
I think we had Star Wars on that. That was pretty cool.
Oh, that is sick.
But yeah, I grew up on a lot of other genres that, ironically, my dad is not a hip hop fan at all.
Okay.
He introduced me to all the genres that ironically became the influence of it. Like I love jazz too. Like if I'm sitting and working and I need to like digress, I love jazz.
Okay.
I love.
Have you ever heard of Steezy as Fuck on YouTube?
Yeah. I don't
got like
tapped in, but
it's like lo-fi hip hop, I guess is what they kind of call it. But he's like, I don't listen to a lot of jazz, but he's like, I'll put him on, or I'll have to put on some sort of, not trance, but there's a group called Tale of Us. They do like dance music, but it's not like, chugging along. It's more melodical and just has, it's not all about the drops, let's just say.
Yeah, for sure.
And Steezy as Fuck is kind of the other side of that spectrum of hip hop. It's super chill, kind of coffee shop hip hop, I guess is the best way to put it.
Ooh, yeah. and light and chill and kind of like just smooth, relaxed. That's something I appreciate a lot. You bring up Tribe. My niece is almost 5. I played Tribe for her. Well, I used to play Tribe for her. She moves on to, now every 2 seconds she calls Alexa to put on a new song. But
that's so funny.
kids.
Do you use the music also to chill out if you're like stressed out or fucking, whatever's going on? I mean, I know I do. So
I'm glad you asked that. Yeah, absolutely. So anybody that knows me in my personal life knows that I'm listening to music 24/7. I'm a total audiophile.
wow.
I can't go anywhere with that. I work all day with music. I walk with music. That's probably why I'm not hearing so well these days. But
What?
I said it.
I'm just kidding.
Oh, you almost had me. That was funny though. That was very funny.
What are you listening to? Is there like okay, how about this? That's not a good question. What are you listening to chill out?
To chill out, I definitely will listen to my Kid Cudi for sure. I think anyone who's around my age, I heard Pete Davidson say this one day, but he's like, if you're around my age then I guarantee you Kid Cudi saved your life at one point or another. And it's I actually really find him hilarious. He's one of my favorite comedians. I know there's different opinions out there, but that's
talk about polarizing.
Well, I mean, yeah. So I suffer from a lot of the things that he does with mental health and whatnot. So when I was seeing my therapist, well, I am seeing my therapist, but when I was talking to him, about a year ago, he said, I think it would be really helpful for you to start a journal on like the days that you're not feeling that great. And I said, the last thing I want to do, at least this is me, I don't want anyone to take this as advice. But in the beginning, I thought, how am I going to like just write about my feelings like while I'm pissed off, right? I didn't know how to do it. Sure. And then I'm like, fuck it. Let me start writing again. Like, you love writing rhymes and poetry, whatever you want to call it. And sure enough, I recorded a couple of things, and time back to my boy E, I played a little bit for him, and he's really taken it. He took an interest into my sound and everything, and I was completely shocked.
That's awesome.
So listen, there's no guarantee of wherever it'll take me, but the fact that it's therapeutic for me and I get to tell a story, and I also have somebody and multiple people who believe in me and already have sent me beats to record on, and it's just completely humbling and flattering. And even like if it doesn't work out, then I keep getting to do something fun to keep my mind healthy and occupied, and it's almost become like a newfound or rediscovered hobby, I call it.
Right. And what is I guess, not to get too personal, but it is pretty fucking personal. What kind of mental health stuff? If you don't want to elaborate, all good. I'm just always curious because
I think it's important, and I'm an open book. I think it's very important to not hide it from anybody. I know it could be embarrassing, humiliating. It's not or embarrassing. So
it's so funny because I feel like people should talk about it, even though you don't want to. It's just easier to put it out there. I'm a very bottled up person. I've seen a therapist for a long time. I haven't had to see one in a little bit, but I've been through my fair share of counseling, whether it be because of my issues. I have a wild history, but it ain't about me right now. Me and my wife have gone to counseling, and I used to scoff at it. I'd be like, "Fuck this! I'm not going to counseling. What is it going to do for me? This and that. I'm going to just talk about it to someone." But you don't want to talk about it, really. It's always nice to have somebody that has no skin in the game.
Yep, no bias. Unbiased sources are the only way you're going to be able to really get what you have to say out without pissing somebody off.
Yeah, or getting just the yes man answer. That your boys, I'm not going to speak on behalf of your boys, and my boys would set me straight, but there's always a velvet hammer to the sort of things. They're never like going to just crush your fucking dreams. Most of the time, unless you're being a complete asshole or, a dickhead. But when it comes to the mental health stuff, instead of just typing it out on Twitter or on your social media, which I feel has become an outlet for people, You know, they're like, well, fuck it, this is my outlet. I'm gonna chime into these people that I guess they don't have any skin in the game, so they're gonna be honest. But man, comments on anything, that who knows what the fuck somebody's gonna write to you, you know?
Exactly. And I'm guilty of that too. I've definitely put my emotions out there, tried to cut that back, but
I've done the same.
yeah, and I think it's very important to just like talk about it. I've had these conditions for a long time, but they went very long. They went for a very long period of time undiagnosed.
When did
So,
you first notice?
probably as a teenager, I would be like really happy 1 second and then just be like completely depressed.
So bipolar is what we're
Yeah.
hitting on here.
And another comment that I just think like everyone should really chill out with is like everyone has bipolar disorder. Like that's not offensive to me, but it's offensive to a lot of people.
Sure.
I have, thicker skin when it comes to people who say things that are just completely ignorant. So I don't really tend to harp on those things. But yeah, there's been a lot of things in the last couple of years that have driven people to seek help, and maybe have developed a lot more anxiety and everything like that. But I, really needed to get myself correct and take proper medications and stuff like that. I do take medications for it. I'm very thankful for my therapist and my psychiatrist. I would much rather take care of that than go out and buy a pair of kicks and like just, or go out and party.
Right.
So that's something I definitely hold near and dear to my heart, and something that took me a long time to push myself to do. And another thing out there is if someone else is pushing you in your life and they're making you want to do it less and less. That's a factor that happens with a lot of things. I can tell you that that's happened to me plenty of times, especially in this situation. But you have to be ready to do it yourself, and just think about what it would be like to feel, or at least give it a chance to feel better. I used to scoff at it too, just like you mentioned before, but until I really experienced it, I it was unbelievable.
Because there's a moment where you get kind of comfortable being that way.
Yeah,
you it's not comfortable, but I guess it's just your norm. I wouldn't say comfortable is a bad word. It
right.
becomes your norm.
It's true though. It's true. It's definitely applicable.
It's like, fuck it, I'm happy. Oh, well, fuck it, I'm mad now. And that's I couldn't imagine having those emotions, not so much for just yourself, but the people around you that, the people that love you and stuff like that. It's probably like, oh, okay. What the hell just happened?
Yeah, I mean it's scary too, and it worries your people around you, and then everyone starts worrying, and then it kind of piles up on you and stuff like that. And you do have, everybody's got to realize that there's better in them. And like I used to punch the wall a lot. That's something I am not the most proud of admitting, but I used to, and like I actually have a tattoo that says the wall never loses, because it doesn't.
It definitely doesn't.
I mean, if it's drywall, like maybe, but you're still gonna just don't ever do that. Anyway.
Yeah, no punching walls, people.
Don't punch anything unless it's a boxing bag. But yeah, it's scary for your family members. You put them in a really upset position too, and it's like it in a way it's selfish. It's unfair to yourself, and it's unfair to the others around you. And I think that's a big part of it too, is like everyone deserves to have the ones that are around them understanding of them, and also caring and appreciative of them. And the more you bog your friends down, or the more you bog your loved ones down with all these issues and negativity, it's going to worry the shit out of people, and it's going to make people also want to kind of maybe stay away from you too. And
was there ever moments that you feel like lonely and shit?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, I do live in a studio by myself. I'm a single guy, but I always remember that there's always people here that I can call and text. And you have to be getting, the thing that took me the longest to understand is how to be comfortable being uncomfortable. And like, there are some nights that are way worse, some days that are way worse than others, but there's things to do that really Like luckily I live in a pretty decently sized building, and I just like in the lobby there are dogs some mornings. I'll go pet the dogs. Like, you know what I mean? Like simple shit like that, or going into Starbucks that's, you know, close to my place and they all know me. They're all saying hello. I get, you know what I mean? Like
I was gonna say, what do you do to combat those things?
I love going and like recharging my like get out of bed, you know, like brush my teeth, wash my face, whatever, shower, and then just go and grab a cup of coffee and then like, you know, talk to them for a little bit. They're always so nice. They know my name and stuff like that. And it's
Right.
like really refreshing because you start out your day on a super positive note. And I know this might sound corny to people, but it's so important to do that. It's so important. Like, yeah, sure. Have I woken up with bad news? Like to bad news? Yes, I
Sure.
can imagine every single person in the world has at some point.
Of course.
Uh, but when there's not those days, which are few and far between, getting up and starting your day on a happy note, whether it's the gym, whether it's fucking eating a donut, I don't know, whatever makes you happy in the morning, like
I like donuts.
you know, see, we're right on theme. So I just think that's really, really important for people, and it definitely doesn't just happen overnight, but it's something that I think everybody should hear at some point or another.
Yeah, the mental health thing has gotten more and more put out there. For good, I think. You know, there's always going to be bad actors trying to capitalize on whatever, you know, theme that's going on out there, unfortunately. But yeah, I mean, I'm happy. Thanks for opening up about that. I know that's, you know, especially to a bunch of people you don't know, not a bunch of people,
Pleasure. It's my
all
pleasure.
the millions and millions of people that are listening to this podcast.
Hey man, don't sell yourself short. You never know.
Um,
We will hit 1 million. Don't worry.
hopefully one day. So yeah, back to the music. Is there what do you put on to get hype? What's like your right now? Let's say.
What do I put on to get hype? There's a lot of stuff. Like
Because there's songs that are triggers. You know, you hear them, and you're like, oh shit, like
yeah, I mean,
I'm
so
ready.
the beats that I've been recording on are a little bit more funky, I would say. A couple of them are pretty hard, but I guess I would say like if I really want to get hyped up, like I mean, call me basic, but like Drake and 21, like a couple of the songs on there are just major, like just hard beats, like just really want to turn me up. But if I'm like looking for some inspiration on how to write, I do listen to a lot of Big Mac Miller fan, rest in peace.
Okay, rest in peace. Another one lost too early.
Man, I'll never forget that day.
He was drugs, right?
Yeah,
Fentanyl.
he was poisoned with fentanyl. Yeah,
It's so crazy having a daughter. I mean, you got your niece too, who I think is the same age as my daughter, right? 5.
yeah.
And I was talking to my wife the other day about, you know, how crazy it's gotten, you know, back when I was younger, and it was like you'd go out, and if you did want to do some drugs, whether it was weed or I mean, fuck, I remember when ecstasy was sold at Walgreens, you know, which is crazy to think about. But all those drugs, you could go and not really worry that you were going to die if it was your first fucking time doing them, you know?
Yeah,
and
I've started coming in from China. It became very, very scary. And you've seen so many that I've seen
crazy,
terrible stuff. It's horrible.
My, you know, for a crazy story, my barber, here in Houston, for finding a barber is very fucking difficult if you like your hair, you know?
And finding a barber is very difficult.
Dude.
Absolutely.
I mean, I know I got friends that give 2 fucks about barbers. They're like, yeah, I go to Supercuts or I shave it myself in the backyard. Me, it's a process. I got to find my person. And once you do, and there's so many factors that go into building that relationship with your barber. You know, it's how they're talking to you. Do you enjoy their time? Because face it, you know, you're there for an hour, 45 minutes. So I finally find this guy in Houston, young kid starting his business next to his dad's auto body shop. And I walk in, first haircut. I'm like, oh, this is great. Nice kid. His name was Mike, young. And great conversation, into a lot of the same stuff I was, you know, music, clothes, sports. You know, he was great at investing too. So he was, you know, just kind of all these things for a young guy. I was like, fuck, this is like these are the kind of people that are making the moves here, you know. He started off with one chair in his barbershop, got another one. His buddy moved his buddy into the shop. They had just got done with doing all these remodeling things, like got the floor, got the logo on the floor, you know, piece at a time, piece at a time. He was slowly just building this thing, this dream of his. And I'll never forget, man. I put in an appointment to get a haircut. I'm like, okay, cool. Go there. And a few days later, pull up, and there's a sign, like, you know, like a loose leaf piece of paper stuck to the door. And I'm like, what the fuck is that? So I get out, look, closed until further notice. And I'm like, what? Did this guy get evicted? Did he not pay his bills? Did he get arrested? I'm thinking worst case, he got a DUI and he got arrested or something, right? And then I go and I'm texting him now. Texting. Yo, brother, I'm outside. Are you here? 'Cause sometimes he would show up late. Usually I was like the first dude in the chair. Mm-hmm. And finally, I think it was his sister walks outside. I'm like, hey, is Mike going to be in the barbershop? No. Can I have your phone number and get in contact with you? I'm like, okay, sure. So I drive away. I'm like, hey, babe, you know, not getting a haircut, blah, blah. A few hours later, his partner messaged me. He's like, hey, Paul, can I call you really quick? So he gives me a call, and he's like, yeah, he had a drug fentanyl thing happen last night, and he's dead. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? You know, I just saw this guy 3 weeks ago, you know, and he did dabbled in, you know, drugs, but he wasn't like a fucking drug addict by any means, you know.
And it's one untrustworthy source, and that's why it's very, very, very scary out there, man. Very scary. I'm so sorry to hear that. That's tragic.
It blew me away. But then it made me think. I'm like, I used to be of the mindset, well, I want my daughter to have freedom to choose stuff. And as long as it's in a safe environment, you know, when she's old enough, whatever age that is, and she wants to try weed, we can have a talk about it. I'd rather have a talk about it than having her do it behind my back, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
And then that's how these fucking things happen. And now with the fentanyl craziness, as you see, like Mac Miller and a whole bunch of other people. Yeah, I know they have the little testing kits and whatnot that you can do.
Yeah.
But it's like, what the hell do you tell your niece or your 5-year-old daughter or son or whatever? Do you say, yeah, still try it, or avoid at all costs?
I think you have to create a dividing line. I mean, and be realistic. Unfortunately, what we're talking about is just the inevitable, which is sad to think about. But I mean, I think everybody, not everybody, but a lot of people can say at that certain point in their lives when they get to that teenage and everything, it's like when they start dabbling,
everything's thrown at you.
Yeah. And I think the message I would give to my kid or my niece or a younger person at all would just be to either test it or just don't trust anybody. Don't trust anybody with a bag of drugs. Just don't.
It's not even if it's your best friend and they're like, yeah, I got it from Jeff and he's the man.
Everyone's going to hand something to you and say, oh, no, it's fine. Just do it.
It's all good. Don't worry about it. Yeah. Same with a drink. I mean, even if somebody hands you a drink, it's like, unless we're at my house, I'm still a little.
You pour your own drink. Always.
I'm a little sus, you know. I want to watch the bartender. You know, as sad as that might be.
I learned a hard lesson recently, but read the room. I would say read the room is a big importance.
Okay. Yeah,
that's what I am working on now. Read the room.
Nice. Yeah, that's a good point. Not many people do that. They'll just, you know, go in and splash the pot.
I forgot about that principle recently. So nothing bad, but just in general, it's a very good one to remember.
So Mac Miller, definitely in your wheelhouse.
Yeah, actually, I have a guitar right here.
Oh, damn.
On my, if you could see that, yeah.
Oh, I see it there now.
Yeah.
And who else as far as music goes? Because it's a topic that I love very much. So especially rap. That's kind of my mega wheelhouse.
Definitely Tribe, definitely Wu-Tang, Biggie. Nas for sure. Um, God, there's so many. I mean, as you can tell, I definitely like my East Coast rap.
Yeah.
But you know, even Cypress Hill, like I love the I love lyrics.
Okay.
I really do. I love lyrics, and I also like songs that like stay on theme, but I also love Drake. Like I also love all those guys. And you know, I know Drake gets a lot of shit, but I can't I don't think anybody else can say that he's the biggest hit maker like ever.
He is definitely
In terms
man.
of statistical things, since we like to look at statistics.
He's got a Taylor Swift like following. You know, same with, you know, a guy that's highly polarizing, and we're not going to touch on it very much, but obviously, you know, Kanye is another one that's, you know, insanely has that fanaticism. And Drake is he's not a multi-headed like warrior slash snake as many of the other some of these other artists are. Like he's more like a Jay-Z in my mind. You know, Jay-Z's not one dimensional, but because obviously he does all these other things and he crushes them.
Yeah.
But he's not like producing, doing all these other things. He's more like, yeah, I'm doing this and I'm doing it really well, and I'm going to keep doing this. You know, Eminem's like that. I rap. I don't really fucking sing. And kind of sing once in a while. Drake's delved more into that R&B flavor more than anybody, I guess, more than all of them. Maybe except for, you know, obviously Cudi is definitely, but Cudi has his own sound too. You know, he's not like an R&B guy.
Genre for me. I mean, it's very different. It's very unique.
I tried to get into the rock album. I couldn't do it. The Wizard album.
Yeah, Wizard. Listen, you know, not every album's gonna hit. For most people, at least.
Big balls to be trying.
Absolutely, man. And he was going through that was a dark time for him.
Yeah, he had a big substance abuse problem.
Yeah, he did. He was in and out, but he got himself together. He just made Intergalactic, that series on show on Netflix, movie, whatever you want to call it. Absolutely incredible.
He reminds me of I think he's just on a bigger scale because he keeps himself rare. Childish Gambino.
Interesting.
He's one of those people, like Childish makes an album and then he disappears he films the show Atlanta, you know.
Yeah.
But he's one of those guys to me too that's multi-headed in a way. He can sing amazingly, act well, and rap.
Good comparison, I guess.
And crush the acting, you know. Cudi, great act. I think he's a good actor. I don't know. Great is hard to say about anybody unless like Denzel or some shit. But another guy, I do love my kid Cudi. You know, and with all the craziness that's going on with his, you know, wants to be best friend. You know, I miss that team up very much all the time. You know,
time, man. It was calm, and
it was 5 years ago was pretty fucking calm.
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. Yeah, it's just things change, man. People have changed, and times have changed, and the music scene is a very interesting place right now, which is why I'd like my music to, you know, if it does go anywhere, I'd like it to stay timeless, and I'd like it to at least not have me get involved with anything controversial, because that's just not usually my style.
That's a good way to be. I mean, there's nothing wrong with having fucking opinions, but sometimes when it comes to music and what you're doing, I like the NWA aspect, and I like the Public Enemy aspect sometimes, a lot of the times. But I also like the Tribe aspect, De La Soul aspect, where it's or Wu-Tang. I mean, fuck, you listen to Wu-Tang songs 90% of the time, some people don't even know what the hell they're talking about, but it just sounds fucking good.
You know, there's some deep ass poets in there.
Oh, I mean, I'm a massive Wu-Tang fan. They are probably, I would say, for me, my favorite rap group.
Yeah.
mostly because I can just. There are other people that kept their shit super rare. I know they have a fuck ton of albums, like the collective of Wu-Tang.
Yeah.
But the group Wu-Tang Clan, I mean, we're talking 3 albums. One no one's ever gonna fucking hear, and the other 2 that are really like I think they have a couple others that were not as big. But you know, Enter the 36 Chambers and Wu-Tang Forever, right, is the other album, the double album.
Yeah.
Those were kind of my 2 go-tos. You know, basically brought me up. Never in a million years would I ever think I could rap. Sure enough, when I'm driving in my car, though, I feel like I'm fucking MCing.
Well, I'll say this: if you're creative, if you're like funny people, I feel like people who tell jokes, I feel like can write music because it's part of the brain. It's just that creative, almost like storytelling aspect, but like, you know, obviously
Clever.
a little, yeah, exactly. Great word.
Highly clever and fuck, I can't remember the word. People that are just really good at those quick responses, you know, that their brain is just like witty. Yeah, there it is, witty. You know, they're like, bam. You're like, damn. You'll be driving. I'm one of those people that's driving in their car. Someone will say something, and 2 hours later, I'm like, fuck, I should have said that. That would have been so funny.
Oh, I know. Like, you can get out of a car. Like, I'm gonna get off this recording, and I'm literally gonna be like, why the hell didn't I say that? Like, what?
Yeah, I did it on my first one. I'm like, I should have maybe said that, but hopefully you're gonna come back. So you know, I ain't worried about what we missed now. The music that you're doing, you obviously have a producer. His name's E, right? E's the producer.
Yep. He is
putting his name out there now.
Yeah, I know. He's gonna be like twice, man. Damn.
He's the next Just Blaze or Timberland.
He's been around for a really long time. He's a very well respected guy and stays very low key, but he's a very, very cool dude and giving me a lot of opportunity, and I'm very, very grateful for him. And
do you record at a studio?
Yeah, we have a setup that we do. I go over there a lot to get educated too. You know, I'm 30, but there's always more you can learn about everything. And
I'm 41 and I'm fucking dumb as a box of rocks.
41, brother. I'll say that the least weird way possible.
I know, it's all good.
But yeah, man, he's a great dude, and like I said, just very thankful, and hopefully, you know, exploring my talents and having the support and belief that I do right now. You know, maybe it'll take off, but I try to stay as grounded and humble as I possibly can while working at it. You know, if you want to do something like that, you gotta really work at it.
Dude,
it takes a lot of practice. It takes I still am nowhere near where I want to be. So
yeah, people think social media is hard to crack. I mean, the music business and fame in general, man, yeah. It's got to be next level. Especially to me, music always seems like one of those ones that's not basketball. It ain't football. It ain't baseball, where you're like, I have this talent. I'm 7 feet tall, and I'm Giannis. You know, I have this insane skill. You could rap your ass off, but you might not ever amount to shit. You know. Yeah. I look at guys that, you know, like Eminem's a massive. He just got inducted to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Yes, he did.
You know, and great speech by Dr. Dre, and hearing that history that I think some people don't even realize. And I'm not bringing up a white rapper because you're white, but
I am white, yeah.
But it is one of those, you know, it is a crazy thing. The Eminem era of rap. Who would have thought that some guy would have cracked that industry? Yeah. And he paved the way for all these other dudes.
Freak talent, absolutely. Freak talent.
And there's other rappers that rap fast as fuck, you know, that do all that, you know, the Hopsins and the Tech Nines of the world that can just.
What's the Busta Rhymes, you name it.
Busta Rhymes, Bone Thugs. I mean, Bone Thugs wasn't really good at their clarification of what they were saying, you know. Like, I remember trying to write lyrics down off of tapes from Bone Thugs and Harmony and rewinding it 1 million times to understand what the fuck that guy just said, and I never could get it.
Yeah, I mean, It's tough when you're not on the label looking at everything.
Oh yeah. And so is your style of rap, not to get too deep, is it along the lines of the Mac Miller? I guess cadence and delivery, or is it along the lines of Eminem, I guess, or
I,
a Jay-Z New York style?
I like to really not even like categorize myself or compare myself to anybody else, because I'm telling my story. I'm a playful guy too. Like not all of it's dark and sad, and not all of it's giddy and happy. So, yeah, I mean, those guys definitely have had a lot of influence on me. There are some times when I'm listening to myself and I hear some of their reminiscent
Yeah,
styles,
that's
but
badass.
but yeah, definitely those guys have had huge influences on me, and I would say I don't necessarily have a particular preference, but I would say it's just more loose, it's more playful, it's metaphorical, and it's just I focus on quality. But I think definitely, like, yeah, sometimes I feel like I sound like Mac a little bit. I don't mean that as I'm anywhere close to what he ever was. He was a true MC.
He was.
Not a rapper, he was an MC. And that's
It's
why I like resonated with him so well. And I feel like sometimes he reminds me a little bit of myself.
I'm trying to think of the Mac Miller song. Oh, Wait. Wait is a song I absolutely love by him. That's a more recent song. And I think that's with Anderson .Paak, that song.
Oh, you're thinking of Dang. You're thinking of Dang.
Dang, yeah.
Great.
Great song.
Huge major hit.
He was a funny guy for me because I never really, 100% transparency. I never gravitated to him for some reason. And then there was songs that I heard, I was like, oh, I really like that.
Yeah.
I was always, what did you say?
He's very free. He was very free flowing, even during his darker albums, it feels like he left everything on the floor. You know what I mean? That's how I felt about him.
What really made me end up liking him is NPR does these desk concerts.
Desk concert. That's probably the best one in my opinion ever.
Bro, he crushes. He crushes on there, and I'm like, oh, this guy's a fucking superstar.
Funny, Anderson actually came through, and they did Dang. Anderson.
Yeah. And that he's so then I did start to gravitate towards him more. It's always those. Sometimes it takes the live thing for me. Like I would watch his show on MTV. I remember he had that reality show during.
Oh yeah, that lasted for about a half a season, I think.
Yeah, but I remember him driving some crazy fucking car through LA. It was like I don't even remember what the hell it was called. But I'm like, who is this kid? Because I was of the Eminem mindset. I'm like, fuck all white rappers. If you're not Eminem, I don't really have time for you in my bandwidth. I mean, that's just how I was. I was like, Eminem's the best rapper out. Maybe not the best rapper out, but white rapper. Sorry to bring race into it, but he was the guy for me. I was like, oh, this guy crushes it. Is he better than Jay-Z? No, but that's kind of where I drew the line, and it blinded me to Mac Miller in a way. And now that I gravitate towards him, obviously I do, like Run the Jewels is another huge group that I love, with, obviously LPs in there, and he crushes it. They have a Tiny Desk as well. That was badass. Awesome. But yeah, I can't wait to hear more. I hope there's like I don't know, a mixtape or something that
we're working on something. I don't have an exact timeline yet, but we're cooking in the kitchen.
All right, cooking in the kitchen. The track. Boing, boing, boing.
That ain't even mine. He's gonna get mad at me.
You gotta put that in as like an interlude, maybe as a skit.
Oh well, he's the man with the plan. So you gotta
albums lack skits, for Christ's sakes.
You gotta run it by the head honcho before that gets approved. He calls the shots.
I feel like no one's even listening to albums.
I mean,
like complete albums. I feel like maybe I'm just being old. I feel like nobody's. It's just about the single. They're like, oh, I'm gonna listen to this song. Oh shit, that's I don't like it.
That's definitely what drives the you know, the revenue for
Oh, fuck
everybody.
yeah.
But yeah,
TikTok especially.
I'll agree with that.
And are you do you have like a song where you're gonna be like, this is my in the club?
Yeah, that's a way to stick to current events over there. Crazy story behind how that came out, huh?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's important. But again, I don't want to be, if I ever do get to that point, I never want to be someone who just burns out real quick.
Thong song.
Yeah, Fetty Wap, no offense.
Oh, Fetty Wap. Fuck, I remember him.
Came on and they were bangers, right? They were awesome songs. But he threw them all into 1 year, and it just like, you know, you emptied the clip.
You can empty the clip, I guess, as long as you got another gun to use. You know what I'm saying?
Not a gun proponent, but yes, that analogy does fit for sure. But yeah, I think that's like my most important focus, is keeping it quality and just allowing myself to put stuff out there that's going to stay um, relative, engaging, and just, you know, enjoyable and listenable to everybody who, you know, I can relate. I want to, you know, have people be able to relate to things, and
Actually want to listen to it again, other than, you know,
yeah,
it sounded good, the beat was good, okay, whatever, next song.
yeah, exactly.
I feel like that's kind of where, I don't know, a lot of the music I get now, it really has to be something that grabs me. I find myself more often than not going back to older shit.
Oh,
Which you know what? It's probably a fucking old thing. Sometimes I think that's what it is, because obviously the new peeps that are out there, the new groups, all that, obviously they have a following, and obviously people are listening to them. But I don't know. There's something about my old ass now that just doesn't feel it. Like it doesn't do the same for me.
yeah, I think that happens with, like, you know, every generation. I know my parents' generation, they're, you know, people's parents of their generation hated the Beatles. I mean,
For sure.
they thought the Beatles were provocative and sexual, and you know, it's
I never forget bringing Doggy Style, the CD, home.
oh,
And my mom, I think she broke it in half. I want to say, or she definitely threw it away.
I don't know about that too.
And I think she just asked me, you know, like, do you even know what this music is about? And it was a great, at the time, I'm just a kid, so I don't even know. I don't know what it's about. But I like the beat. I like what he was saying, even though I didn't know what the fuck he was saying.
Yeah,
And now that I'm older, I'm like, God damn, that's some rough shit I was listening to back then for being, you know, 12 or 10 or whatever. You know, it's a long way from MC Hammer, let's just say.
yeah, just a bit. And that's funny you bring that up, because you know, my dad and I would always go into either a Sam Goody or a Tower Records. Google that if you've never heard of it. Google that. That was,
Yeah, people are like, wait, you went into a store to buy a CD?
Tower
What?
Records was the shit, man. Tower Records was the joint. But I remember being
Every Tuesday and Thursday, right? Tuesday and Thursday used to be album release day back in the day. It was like
oh
Tuesdays and Thursdays.
my god, yeah.
Because now it's Friday. Now it's they're like
midnight on Apple TV, YouTube, Spotify, Tidal.
that's right.
But yeah, it was Puff Daddy and the Family that I got my dad to sneak out, because I had heard Biggie for the first time through a family friend like a couple years before. I
Oh
think it
man.
was 97 or 98. Like, and then I played I don't know if you're familiar with the song Time's Up with Biggie in it.
AC?
It's with like the clock tower.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and my mother heard me playing that in my room. Of course, I snuck that purchase and said,
Oh,
"Don't tell
OC, Time's Up by OC. Wonder if this will play. I don't want to play it too long and get demonetized. But
Yeah,
OC,
me."
and what did your mom do?
So that was actually the first time I had ever heard my mom curse. She literally
Oh.
not hesitate. My mom's such a saint. She never curses. And she definitely did not mean to curse in front of me at that age.
I love it.
Literally, like, you're supposed to stop the disc so you don't take it out while it keeps spinning. Again, Google how to work a boombox or CD player if you do not.
People are like, what, a CD?
So she took it out and she goes, turn this shit off. And I was just like, whoa.
I love it.
Mom she said the S word, like, you know what I mean?
I'm throwing it away. I'm throwing it away right now.
Oh no, I didn't have a chance to throw it away. She did exactly what your mom did. I don't know what method of disposal she used. I don't know if she broke it in half.
I'm remembering a cracked CD. I think I snuck Atlian's. I think I stuck Outkast's album, and they got that. I'll never.
Yeah.
AT Aliens, and I bought that at a store. They sold it to me. Obviously, it didn't. I want to say it didn't have the parental advisory on the front. Maybe it did, and I can't remember. But it had the cartoon, on the front. It had, Big Boy and Andre on there.
Yeah.
But the CD. So I leave the store. It's a pain in the ass to open those old CD cases for all my young peeps on here. It used to be
crap on the sides. I hated.
Oh my God. They made you fucking earn that album you were about to listen to.
Absolutely. Not that we paid for it or anything.
No, not at all. But I will say that there was a nice lady one time that taught me a trick, and she's just like, oh, why do you guys have such a hard time opening this? She grabs the CD and she just slides it down the edge of the desk, and it comes right off. And it was like, holy fuck.
Why are you guys having so much trouble with this? I don't know, because I'm 9.
So I open the CD and I'm walking out to my car, to my mom's car, and I see the CD, and it's the naked girl that's getting like oozed on with the green ooze on the cover of the Outkast album.
It was green.
And I'm shitting my pants. I'm like, whoa, this is not going to be playing this. And
fluids running in this scenario.
Yeah. So I told my mom, I was like, I think I told her, I was like, I didn't get anything or something. And she ended up finding it later. And at one point, she finally just figured, okay, my son's into rap and live the dream, I guess.
A message to moms around the world: it doesn't always end up badly. Okay?
That's right.
Just give us a chance. Just give us a chance.
Man, I could tell so many fucking stories about rap and me and growing up, but yeah, it doesn't always end up bad. Look at us now. We're here on the Tasty Brains podcast.
Okay.
It's right. I'm a man. I'm 40. And I got a podcast. But anything else you want to put out there before I let you go? I know we're at kind of like the 2-hour mark. So
yeah, for sure. Well, number one, I appreciate you having me like crazy. It's very, very flattered, very humbled. And anybody who's watching, listening, whatever you might be doing, just try and live every day like it's your last. I know that sounds so corny, but that's really helped me. And don't let anything go to waste. Everybody's got a special talent. Everybody's got something they're good at, and don't be afraid to pursue that. Don't be afraid to chase that, because the more time you wait, the more you're going to grow frustrated with yourself if you don't do it. You're a talented person. You can do it. That's all I got to say, really, to everybody out there.
I love it. Well, I hope everyone enjoyed meeting the soon-to-be famous D-Bloc.
Stop.
Any idea when the sweaters are coming out?
The hoodies we'll be working on.
Hoodies, sorry.
The next couple. No, it's all right. They're warm, so
good timing.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll be working on them in the next couple of weeks. I'm gonna keep updating everybody via social media and whatnot. And
give them a follow. Twitter DBLOCDUNKS, Instagram DBLOCDUNKS.
Same exact spell. No difficulties there. But yeah, we'll be updating, and we're gonna be making some one-offs too, some samples, some one-on-one customs. So we got a lot on the agenda. I won't leak too much, but yeah, everyone stay tuned in the next couple weeks. Yeah, right. Stay tuned in the next couple of weeks, and I'll definitely have updates for people and whatnot. But in the meantime, yeah, stay tuned to the feed. It's holiday season. We're stocking up. We got boxes on boxes coming in, so be ready for that too.
Badass. Well, I thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you, Paulie, for having me. It was a pleasure.
And I will see you on Twitter. Thanks, everybody, for listening. See you on the next episode.
What's
up?
Yeah, I'll just see you around on the internet somewhere.
That's right. We're always there.
All right, brother.
All right, everybody. See you on the next episode.